discussing the editorials from the Hindu and some articles from the Indian Express as well. So the first article is about international relations. It's a very old issue, nothing new if you are a person well versed with this issue. So this is about a maritime dispute. Okay, maritime dispute between India and Sri Lanka. Basically, there is a region called Kachatateevu. It's a small island. Way back in 1974 itself, the Indian government gave it away to Sri Lanka as a goodwill gesture. But what happened? Look at the location. It is near Rameshwaram, and it is also near the Jaffna region and the Park Strait region of Sri Lanka. Now the problem is, fishermen from both the regions carry out fishing activities there. There is something called UN clause, United Nations Convention on Law of Seas. According to that, let's say for example, if you have, if let's say this is the boundary, till 12 nautical miles. Nautical miles means a unit of distance in sea. Till that 12 nautical miles, that territory belongs to the nation which owns that land. Now, India gave away this. Otherwise, we would have had the territorial rights in this region. But the problem is, Tamil Nadu, which is also a stakeholder in this region, claims that back then in 1974, when the government wanted to give away this island to Sri Lanka, they were not consulted because they feel that they also have a say in this. However, if you see the international relations and international law between two countries, we spoke about diplomacy, and I told you that global governance is marked by anarchy. There is no government which is overseeing how to conduct administration and the way negotiations happen between two countries. There are universally accepted laws, treaties, but most of the times it is very arbitrary. Therefore, diplomacy becomes important. Now, according to the established conventions of international law, this is a subject in your law. According to that principle, across the world it is accepted that once you negotiate a treaty and accept it, you have to abide by it. But now Tamil Nadu is always, saying that the center did not concede or you shouldn't have conceded this island, and Tamil Nadu and its farmers also has a say in this. It is because of this issue, this entire Kachatateevu and Park Strait issue occurs in news again and again. Now, what is the takeaway for the sake of exam? Here, you have to know about some important conventions that came in this article, and you can note them down because this issue has been there since not just 2020, I would say forever, from the time this agreement was signed. So until that issue is resolved, it will again appear in news. So you will have to note this. First thing is this UN clause. You need to know the basics of this UN clause. Okay. Then you have FAO, Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries, Food and Agricultural Organization. So whenever you come across international organizations like this, Google them, go to their website, read the About Us section. Why do they exist? With what purpose are they existing? And why are they talking about fisheries? Go and read the About Us section, you will understand. So, this second point is what you should note, FAO's Code of Conduct. Then, you also know that there is a principle called bottom trawling. Let's say, for example, if you are a fisherman and you are using a net, very large net, So what happens is that nets often go till the bottom of the ocean and they catch all the fish, big fish, small fish, everything. But the problem with this approach is fishermen only take away some of those catch. Rest of them are again dumped into the sea. This practice disturbs the local ecology and therefore it is banned. Why does it disturb? Because you know how food chain works, right? A big fish eats a small fish. If you are catching all the small fish, you are not even giving a chance for the bigger ones. That entire chain gets disturbed. And it is in this process you will see that bottom trawling is a undesirable practice. Even India banned it. But having said that, the communities near Rameshwaram, even within themselves, not just India and Sri Lanka side, even within themselves they are having a conflict. Some of the fishermen used mechanized boats, proper technical fishing equipment, etc. Some of them still carry out the traditional methods. So there is a conflict between them, and their conflicts spill over to the international arena, and they are sometimes caught by the Sri Lankan Navy, which often becomes a point of contention for us. And this issue needs to be resolved. So the next time you are preparing a note on India and Sri Lanka relations, this should be one of the heading. What are the existing issues between India and Sri Lanka? A few days ago we studied about the demilitarization of Jaffna. Jaffna is an area, you can see here, this part where Sri Lankan Tamils reside. According to the settlement ceasefire talks after the civil war ended, this area was supposed to be demilitarized, and today you have locals there who are competing, you have the army there who are competing with the locals, and they are occupying the land, the shops and the businesses, and that is causing a lot of disturbance. And people migrate from there and will again enter into India, which will put pressure on our resources and cause internal security disturbances. Therefore, India is bound to address that concern as well. So between two countries, if there are any specific issues which are again and again occurring in the news, you should take a note of them. Clear? That's the first article. Moving forward. Again, one more point that I want you to take down. Take a look at this. See, in Europe, when similar issues happen, there is a sharing mechanism. Two countries divide the entire territorial waters and the fish that they catch in that territories and divide that amongst themselves. You should also use such kind of governance, global governance examples to see here. Models exist in the Baltic Sea Fisheries Convention, where Latvia, Poland and European Union share quotas to conserve resources. This can be used as a global example. The same example can be used in multiple contexts, not just diplomacy. So if you are writing an essay on how we should share responsibilities, how dialogue, negotiation and action can resolve even global issues of the so-called global commons. Global commons means they don't belong to anyone. For example, space, Antarctica, international waters and the resources within them. How do we conserve? We need global cooperation. In such kind of scenarios, you can use these models for value addition and substantiation. Okay? That's how you can use this example. Moving on. Okay, there is this important principle, pacta sunt servanda. This is a legal principle in international law. You don't have to mug it up. It's a term used in international law, and it's a principle. In jurisprudence, that is, in law, there is a subject called jurisprudence. In that, you will see a lot of Latin and Greek, mostly Latin origin terminology, which formed the basis of modern law. So those principles are often repeated in or often cited in legal arguments. When principles like this are sprinkled across your answers, it would give some level of professional touch to your answers, but it is not mandatory. If you are comfortable, use it, otherwise it's fine. Okay, it's not mandatory. A joint and new journey along the SEO pathway. See, the article's purpose here is to showcase how SEO, that is Shanghai Cooperation Organization, can show a path for global governance. Okay, this article is written by the China's ambassador to India, and in the recent summit, we have had the Tianjin summit, where both our Prime Minister Modi and the Chinese counterpart, the Chinese President 11 Jinping or Xi Jinping, he mentioned the importance of India and China's ties. In the Hindu, there was a 3-part article in the last few days about India and China's border discussions. You can go back and read those articles as well. We have already discussed them. China and the 5-finger policy and the whole border discussions. It's an elaborate take on the same. You don't have to go into that depth. Anyway, what is SEO? It's an organization that came into existence after the 1991 split of USSR. Soviet Union. See what happened in the aftermath of this breakdown of the state. Cold War, as we knew, that is a ideological battle between USA and USSR, has almost taken a back seat. That was not the overpowering ideology where countries conducted their diplomatic efforts around this ideology. That stopped after 91. And for a lot of years, what we saw was a unipolar world driven by US. It is in this era you have seen the dominance of US and along with it NATO. This is the time where Russia was not feeling comfortable about the aggressive growth of NATO, and they were coming closer and closer towards Russia. And that is the same backdrop of the present Ukraine-Russia war. Okay. So this is not a new phenomenon. It was always existing. It is in this backdrop, China thought we have to secure our borders and come up with a security architecture that will protect the interests of Eurasian region, that is East Europe, Asia part. Okay. So in 2001, a few countries came together and they formed the SEO. However, this is not a military organization like NATO. This is not purely economic organization also. It's a mix and match of everything. In 2017, India and Pakistan also joined SEO, which makes it the largest regional organization in terms of area as well as population. Okay. These pointers are important for your prelims exam. Okay, please remember this. You will have to know the chronology, the headquarters, the purpose, the tricks and traps that can be used by UPSC. They will twist the statements in your statements and confuse you. Now let me ask you this question. Is SEO an economic organization? No. Purely military organization? No. So we moved away from such simple questions. But let's say UPSC again asks such simple straightforward questions. you should not make such mistakes in prelims. So please pay attention to the facts as well as the current developments. Now it is in this summit you will see a very, very important initiative called the Global Governance Initiative of China. Usually, unless and until we highlight this and tell you the significance, you will ignore this. Now that you said it is a global governance initiative, how can UPSC confuse us? Let me make a statement. Global Governance Initiative for adhering to sovereign equality, abiding by international rule of law, practicing multilateralism is an initiative propagated by the World Bank. Global World Bank might seem true. Why is UPSC intentionally putting World Bank? Because in the previous years, lot of YouTube talks etc. came up with this simple so-called tricks, techniques, elimination traps, saying that this is the pattern and this is how UPSC will ask. Fine. But anyway, there are two kinds of tricks. Anywhere you see this World Bank, it is usually true. Or anywhere there is a name of the organization, they will change it. These are the two tricks propagated by the market. Are you following me, everyone? Those who gave prelims, you will understand. In the statement that I gave before, Global Governance Initiative is started by World Bank. Is this statement true or false? Now, if you are someone who does not know the news article or the context, there are two possibilities of how you would attempt this. Let's say you are someone who watched those techniques and tricks. I'm not saying you should not use them. They're fine, but it is not meant for questions that you already are supposed to know. It is meant for questions where it is difficult to attempt without a context, without information. Okay? But if current affair articles like this mention them, definitely you are expected to know in today's world. Now, what are the mistakes that aspirants will do in prelims? Either they will think that Global and World Bank are synonymous and mark it as right, or if you are in the start process, how can UPSC think otherwise? Like say for example, they will change World Bank with let's say some other thing, like say directly put China. Like I told you, there are two kinds of tricks. One trick is they will tell that if you see World Bank, map it right. Then they will say name of the organization for an initiative will be changed. Let's say in this case, maybe the examiner will give the true statement. Global Governance Initiative is initiated by China. But if you are someone who watched YouTube tricks and techniques thinking that UPSC will always change the name of the organization and mark it as wrong, you lost 1 mark. Then how can you decide? If something is in news, something is in your reach, if you are not knowing that, something of national, international importance, that is a problematic area. But if it is a very random organization that you have not heard in news, it's not so significant, then you can use this kind of tricks and techniques. And this comes with lot of practice and lot of awareness about current affairs. Okay? Anyway, I wanted to highlight this point because for next year prelims, this single fact is going to be extremely important, because this will drive the regional architecture of South Asia in the next few years. It's an evolving topic, but from now on you will hear this word again and again. Now, what are the priorities of China with respect to how it wants to project its power? The article written by ambassador will give us clues. He says that China is committed to contribute to the world in 3 areas. See, what are those 3 areas? This was a summit that focused on development, and China would establish 3 major platforms. What is that? Energy, green industry, digital economy. Energy transition, green industry. Wherever there is a need for material efficiency and decarbonization agenda, China wants to be there. And finally, digital economy, because the future is driven by digital tech, AI, Internet of Things, Web 3.0, in general AI 4.0. China wants to dominate the future. And does it have the resources to do so? Yes. 70% of the critical minerals come from China. They have the resources, they have the tech, they have the money, and they have the markets. But if they were to grow, their markets alone will not be sufficient. They want regional peace and stability, and that's why they want to contribute to this so-called governance initiative. Previously, India did not want to support China because China was supporting Pakistan. Their initiative, called the Belt and Road Initiative, was passing through China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. It's passing through the Indian region. Pakistan occupied Kashmir. We were not okay with it. One, because it is a security threat. Two, because it is a very, very ecologically fragile zone. For both these reasons, India did not want Chinese cooperation, but it anyway started. China was also investing in Pakistan in the Gwadar port. So we had our differences. But you have to remember one ground rule in international relations. There are no friends and there are no enemies. There are only necessities. You negotiate. There is no right and wrong. There is only negotiation. And that's the ground rule of diplomacy. Today, we are witnessing a possibility of Russia, China, and India coming together through a so-called Trioca. It's a distant reality as of now. But we are still pursuing the dream because we want to keep our options open. Imagine where US is shutting India down, literally. Europe is witnessing a trend of deglobalization and the rise of right-wing politics. We have had an assassination, political assassination in Brazil today. And, sorry? Yeah. So he was an ally to the US president. He was a right-winger. And we are witnessing the trend of conservative politics. The so-called right-wing politics referred to conservative politics. What is the meaning of this? The liberal politics are all about globalization, opening up the economy, allowing more people into the country, allowing people to exchange ideas, sell goods, exchange technologies. All that is changing now. Every country is witnessing the rise of right-wing politics because local people feel that their jobs are being taken away. And this is universal. How do we handle this? There is no other option but to seek collaboration wherever we get it. And it is in this context we are partnering, or we are many articles are suggesting, many political observers are suggesting that we completely we shouldn't completely depend on US alone, and we should keep our options open, diversify our networks and establish relations. Interesting times this. In South Asia, you're also witnessing another trend, demographic change. For example, in Japan, we are witnessing the aging of population. There are no young people in Japan now for their working needs. You know what is happening? You can apply for a permanent residence in Japan by paying 9,000 rupees. They are giving the residence, but it's a different fact that you have to earn your job. You have to have skills for that. We are witnessing this simultaneously, and it is in this kind of an environment we are supposed to navigate. So many challenges at the same time. Okay? Now, this article also points at the diamond jubilee of ties between India and China. So, what are the highlights? They are asking about the highlights. See here, what are the three important takeaways that we should focus on according to the writer? First, we should further consolidate strategic mutual trust. Do you trust the Chinese? No. So, they want that to be fixed first. So, what does this mean in actual language? Like, this is a diplomatic language. Establish strategic trust. What does it mean? If we don't trust each other, we are losing out on something. You have no other option but to trust. Because, in a way, China is infiltrating every segment of the future market. That we have no other option but to trust them. Either we work on our technology, get better, or establish channels of trust. This is what the indication is all about. Second one, we should further expand exchanges and cooperation. In short, you can translate this into the language that you understand. Please unban TikTok. This is what they are saying. Okay, with this statement, let's read out what he says. We should focus on development, which is the big common denominator, and promote mutual support. The Chinese side is ready to strengthen cooperation with the Indian side in technology. Technology, education. So when you say technology, TikTok. Education, maybe some large VC trying to invest in some edtech company. Culture, tourism. Culture, tourism, and poverty alleviation. They are least interested in poverty alleviation, but maybe their poverty alleviation. And finally, promote exchanges and communication between political parties. Parties. There is only one in China. Think tank, media, and youth. So, to expand the convergence of interest and promote people-to-people bonds. Simply put, they are saying we are open to talks. This is how diplomacy works. Put your emotions aside and think logically. Okay. Third, we should further enhance good neighborliness and friendships. We should continue to uphold the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence. What is this? Panchshil. Okay. That is the takeaway from this article. Some key words used by the officials, you should replicate that language. And it is too vague and abstract for us to remember all this, right? So, I am using all this kind of, relatable incidents so that these key points stick in your mind. Okay? To build roads is to build peace. This is an extremely informative article, and you wouldn't find this kind of articles usually. What does this mean? Can you relate infrastructure to development? Yes. But can you relate laying down of roads to elimination of Naxalism? Not so easy, not so obvious if you do not know the context. The research quoted in this article suggests that if you build roads, you can end insurgency activities. You can stop, non-state actors like terrorists or extremists from influencing the gullible, vulnerable sections, the tribals in those regions. And this is not my opinion, this is not his opinion, it's a established sociological research. Pick those points, use them in your articles, and use them in your essays and any sociology or internal security answers, and that is how you add value. Okay, see here. Here he talks about Naxalite presence in villages often includes some health services and welfare activities underwritten by the threat of violence. Why do locals always support them? Because either they are vexed with the state or they are scared of the Naxals. As of today, I personally have seen, you can even quote any established research. But if you know any friends who are working in those areas, or whether they are the officers or whether they are the doctors, like they have NGOs like Medicines Sans Frontiers, Doctors Without Borders. It's an NGO which works in this left-wing extremist red corridor, so-called red corridor. Locals don't support Naxals now. They are very apprehensive because they know that the state is not ill-treating them now. So much has changed in the last 20-25 years. It is articles like this, when you read them, you will see how you can use the citations given here in your answers. There is nothing much to explain here. Simply put, what is the author saying? In village areas, we do not have access to roads. Absence of roads literally means absence of state's presence. There is no state there. And there is no development. When there is no development, when there is a state apathy, it becomes a very fertile ground for recruitment of Naxalites, future Naxalites. It becomes a fertile ground for extremism because people are vexed. There is no help. There is no one to take care of them. That should not be the case. Let's say, what can a road do? A road can connect a kid to a school, to a hospital. It can ensure that a state's official can go into that village, give pension. It can ensure that the state's election commission can visit. Have you seen this movie Newton? Anyone? Hindi movie Newton. In that, simply put, it's the story of an officer who is very honest and wants to go into a Naxal hit village just because there are some votes. I don't remember, a few votes, 2 or 3 votes, but every vote matters. Maybe Newton in that movie wouldn't have to suffer so much if there is a proper road. A road can connect a farmer to a market. A road can connect a worker to the industry. A kid who is aspiring for higher education in a city can be connected to a village. Basically, a road can show a road map for the future. And this is the impact of infrastructure and the importance of laying down roads. What is the flagship scheme for laying down roads with respect to villages? Gram Sadak Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. And in your internal security syllabus, you will see that when you read about this Naxalism as a topic, it is not just a security challenge. It is also a developmental challenge which occurred because of governance failure. If you have to fix that, one cannot happen after the other. Both should happen together. Governance as well as security provision should happen together. It's a parallel process. And it is because of that infrastructure plays a huge role. So I request you to read this article, especially if you have sociology or anthropology optional, and make notes out of this. There are some important sociology candidates, especially there are some important metrics given here, important studies given here. Maybe you can use them in the social change aspect of your sociology syllabus. Okay, even in ethics, you can quote this kind of articles, essay also. Please note down this. Okay. Himachal is declared as a fully literate state. What does this mean? Generally, when you are preparing for civil services, you will be asked to read either NCERT or NIOS. Right? What is NIOS? Have you ever heard of NIOS? Okay. So, NIOS means it's an organization which is meant for open schooling. You don't have to go to a formal school. It will give you the material. You will have to write the exam and it will give you a certificate. So in this case, there are some misconceptions that you need to know. This news is important from prelim standpoint, not from mains, prelim standpoint. There is a difference between literacy and education. So there is an official definition of literacy as per the census, and who is considered to be literate is also dependent on some criteria. You have to read this article to understand what are the definitions involved, how can one get literacy, what are the steps taken by the government to reach that destination. Clear? One important point, everybody thinks fully literate means 100% literacy. Is this true or false? False. According to the definition of the government, even if you reach a 95%, it's called fully literate. What is the technical definition? They expect you to know this. Link this to SDGs. SDG 4. SDG means Sustainable Development Goal. There are 17 goals that the entire countries in the globe, most of them, came together and decided if we pursue these goals, we will move towards the so-called sustainable development. In that, fourth goal talks about education and functional literacy. 100% functional literacy, achieving that by 2030 is an aim. This is what Himachal Pradesh attained now. Now, you should know literacy need not be having a certificate. If you have the ability to read, write and compute in the most foundational subjects, like pick a language, if you can read, write, and if you can do some basic computational math, and you pass a test conducted by NIOS, Functional Literacy Numeracy Assessment. If you pass the test, you will be considered literate. And what we can say, at least 95% of the Himachal Pradesh population got certification from FLNAT, NIOS, and that's why they're called fully literate. Important news for prelims, please note. So that's it for the day. We will again discuss. Tomorrow there might not be a class. I don't think there will be a class because there is another class that I have to take. So we will cover tomorrow's articles also in the next session. Okay? Today's Thursday, right? Friday. So again we'll meet again on Monday. Okay? Chalo.